Alhamdulillah, I made £30,000 in just a few months. And what made it even more delicious is that it was from a side business and it was about 90% profit. But none of this would have happened if I didn't take action. When I got fired from my job in Dubai, this is when I first learned what it means to be an action taker. To not just say, I want to do that, I'd like to do that, but actually say, I will do that inshallah, and then do it. You see, I got 3 university degrees from 3 different top universities in the world, but I actually ended up fascinated by learning myself about marketing and psychology. I read book after book on these topics, and then I started helping my friends with their businesses here and there wherever possible. I remember the first time I got paid to help someone with their online marketing was a friend of a friend who wanted to start an online e-commerce business, and he paid for me to travel down to him to Brighton, where he lived, to help him. And he paid for my train ticket, and that was the first time I got paid to help someone with their marketing. That's how it started. Eventually, I had enough real-life experience that made me seem actually qualified to do marketing jobs. So although I really wanted to do business and not get a job, I realized I actually had to get a job. So I started applying for marketing jobs in Dubai where I lived. I just applied to jobs on LinkedIn, and I remember I did 3 interviews. I remember specifically driving from where I lived to Dubai, which took 90 minutes, in my dad's old BMW 5 Series in 50-degree heat, and the AC wasn't working that well. But I did those 3 interviews, and the 3rd one, they offered me the job. Now, don't get me wrong, I was happy to finally have some solid income coming in and to have the chance and the budget to flex my marketing muscles. But this wasn't my long-term plan whatsoever. I was looking at this job as my training ground and my funding ground for my future business. Like I said, I never wanted a job, I wanted a business. But to be honest, I just didn't take enough focused, proper action towards having a successful business for me to succeed. So in the meantime, I had to have a job to sustain myself. So I started that job in Dubai, and 4 weeks in, it wasn't looking too good whatsoever. Now, some of you more experienced people in jobs will know this, but I didn't know this. I didn't realize that telling the COO of the company that their marketing strategy was wrong was something that you could do 4 weeks into a job. You see, alhamdulillah, I actually knew what I was doing. And the other person on the marketing team who also knew what he was doing, he confirmed that. And he made me realize that I know what I'm doing. It's the others that don't know, especially the marketing manager. He actually was a salesperson. He didn't have knowledge of marketing. And we were doing everything wrong. The strategies they were using were just so basic, so I just found it hard to comply with them, really. So when after 6 weeks they fired me, I didn't blame them. I wasn't very compliant, and no employer wants that. And although I tried to take responsibility for myself and put the blame on myself, it did hit me hard, especially considering the HR manager who fired me was a fellow Algerian. But anyway, alhamdulillah, I had shelter to go back to. And so then I started to get excited a few days after getting fired about working on my next business. But my experience in that job showed me that I have to make this work. I'm not really built to do a job. I'm going to struggle doing a job. So I need to become a doer enough to get success in business where I belong. I realized I have to become a real action taker instead of a planner, a learner, a thinker. And that, frankly, is where everything changed. You see, there were a couple of brothers that I worked on a previous business project, and they were interested in starting a business with me. We got along well, and we discussed starting a marketing agency together. And I knew this one would be different. Why? Because these brothers were older than me by about 8 years. They're also just more experienced in life and business. And although I was always happy working on my own, it kind of worried me to have to work with other people and be accountable to other people. I was desperate for this business to work out. So I got on with it. I signed a business agreement with them, and we got to work. I'll always remember how we got our first £800 monthly retainer in the first month of doing business. It was so sweet to know that even though, it's not such a huge amount of money, but it was 100% profit, and we'd really gone and made that money. Unlike my previous businesses, e-commerce, Amazon and stuff like that, we actually had invested £0, $0 to get this business started, and we just made 800. But the bigger difference came with our meetings. You see, we had a meeting once a week, and although it was officially a business meeting, for me, it was an accountability call. We used this method from a book called Traction to hold each other accountable for what we said we were going to accomplish that week. So every week in the meeting, we would decide what we want to accomplish that week, and the person running the meeting would say, task A, done or not done. And if that was assigned to you, you had to say done or not done. And that idea of saying not done in front of everyone, sometimes employees who look up to you, that was too hard to say not done. So you would always try and make sure that it was done. Probably like you, I wasn't used to this level of accountability outside of school or outside of a workplace, but I loved it. We became productivity machines. Each week we would come on the meeting and we would say, done, 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 done. We were just churning through tasks. I'd push myself up until the last minute to make sure that all the tasks were done, just so I wouldn't say not done on that meeting. And what did this translate into? Real cash. We started to get more and more clients, alhamdulillah. I remember there was even one, this was the biggest retainer we ever got, who was paying us £7,000 a month, mashallah. Pretty soon I started earning more than what my job was paying me, which was amazing, alhamdulillah. I remember that milestone. And then I remember we were earning £3,000 a month, which was more than I'd ever earned in a month. And this was all from my parents' home in the UAE, alhamdulillah, and tax-free. And I'm pretty careful with money, so I was probably spending no more than £500 a month. So I was saving a lot of money, alhamdulillah. I was finally making that online money, and I even ended up getting married and going to Malaysia for 3 weeks, where half of that was kind of my honeymoon, but then the rest of it, I could stay in Malaysia and keep working from the Airbnb that I rented. And that's when it really hit me. I was finally having some internet money success. And it didn't come from changing the business model, investing loads of money. It came from accountability, which led to me taking more action and making more money. Simple as that. Accountability really, it changed my life. What can I say? You see, I've been studying productivity since I was about 20 years old. I remember watching the Productive Muslim webinars live back in the day, learning about barakah and productivity and time management, all of that. And then there were the other books of Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy. If you know Brian Tracy, you know. But it wasn't until I discovered the concept of accountability partners and coaching and mentoring that I realized productivity tips are cool and all, but you still have to have the motivation, the discipline to implement those in your life on a regular basis. But having a real person waiting for you on a call each week and then going through all of the tasks that you committed yourself to doing that week, that made all the difference. It became something that if you actually turned up to those calls and took them seriously, you'd get results. It's far, far more reliable than waiting for motivation to strike. And that's why years later, after having more and more business success, I wanted to start a project that would contribute to the Ummah. And it's because I believe in accountability, coaching, and mentorship that I thought that would be my area of contribution. I've been in this personal development game for over 10 years, and I believe it changes lives. And specifically when you combine it with the coaching and the real life accountability, that is when it really can transform the Ummah. I'm looking to take Muslim men from being average, normal, good guys to becoming high performers and then to becoming leaders. That is what will really change the world. That's what will allow them to take more action in their life to improve themselves and then to help their families and then to help their communities and the whole Ummah. I've studied and thought so deeply about the method of how to achieve this, and I came up with something called the Brotherhood Action Protocol. It's a whole system of how you can actually start taking more action and achieving more and stop being an average guy. Nobody wants that, especially you. So if you want to do more and stop being average and accomplish more, then click the link below. You can learn all about how the system works. And if you want to work with us to help you achieve your financial, ibadah, health, whatever goals, then after you watch that video, you can learn how to go ahead with that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.